Hey everyone, welcome back to another Money Mondays. Today we're going to talk about the 4 quickest ways that you as a dentist can actually put money in your hands. Let's go ahead and jump straight into this webinar today. The 4 quickest ways a dentist can create wealth. What I mean by create wealth is actually get money, put it in your hand and become wealthier tomorrow. Investing, when you know a little bit about investing, you'll know that it's actually a long-term thing. It's something that you should do with your money once you already have it. We're going to draw a few key distinctions today so you can understand why I say that. Creating wealth versus building wealth. Why did I specifically say create wealth versus building wealth versus generating wealth? It's because we have to make this distinction. If we're going to talk about wealth, the subject, the concept, there's actually two parts to that: creating and building. Now, building wealth is what you do with your money once you already have it. You choose to invest it. Most people know with most investments, it takes quite a while for that to manifest. It takes quite a long period of time. We're usually talking like years, 5 years, 10 years, that sort of time frame. It's a better place to store your money once you already have it, because remember, currency, i.e. the pound and the dollar, continuously depreciate in value with time. We need something that appreciates. We need an asset that appreciates, because the properties of that asset are better to store our wealth when it's in the long term. Just think about all these assets as vehicles which have different properties to store your wealth. Some of the properties serve you, some of the properties don't serve you. It's about understanding which one is the best for your circumstances. That's building wealth. Think about it like this: if you have no money, you can't invest. You can't actually build your wealth. You got to create it from somewhere. So that's why we're here today to talk about the 4 best places that you can start enhancing your ability to create wealth tomorrow, and then therefore invest more and pull that financial independence date forwards in time, closer to today. So we've got to think about building wealth as building a house. We build it brick by brick. It takes time. Creating wealth is like when certain plants, they grow exponentially. Creating wealth is more what we can do in the short term, the here and now, the actionable things that we can do tomorrow to release money, which will increase our wealth very, very, very soon, maybe over the next few days, weeks, months, something like that. Here's the 4 quickest ways. And they're also specific to dentists as well, because these are the things that any dentist can do in order to create more wealth tomorrow. The power of this short webinar is amazing, because you'll begin to know where to look. You've probably never had it laid out to you like this before. You know, wealth, it just appears like this big myriad of opportunities, you know, this big fog of potential eventualities. But if we can show you which ways you need to go to proceed, then doesn't that make things so much clearer and so much quicker? Because you'll know, actually, if you want to create more wealth tomorrow, it has to be one of these 4 things. It has to be one of these 4 places that you should look, and then therefore you know where to focus your energy rather than investing. That's more what you do with your money in the long run. Sales, accountancy, spending review, create and modify a business. What do I mean by sales? Sales, a better way of talking about sales, a better way of describing sales is your ability to describe value. Think about it like this. If I have a mansion that's off camera and I say to you, do you want to buy my mud hut, which is just here beside me off camera, obviously referring to the mansion, but I've described it as a mud hut. Can you see how no one is ever going to actually buy the mansion because I've given you a terrible description? Now, what about if I say to you, do you want to buy my 10-story, 50-bedroom mansion in central London with a swimming pool, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, and it's £20,000? You say, hell yeah, of course, as long as the story checks out, that's a phenomenal deal. Absolutely, that's a no-brainer, okay? What about if we're describing our treatment, which has all the qualities of a mansion, which is as good in relative terms to other people's treatment as a mansion is to a flipping, you know, semi-detached or you know, like some sort of townhouse or whatever, then how can we ever say that we're truly giving that patient an idea of how good our treatment is? We need to elevate our ability to describe it to accurately reflect how good our ability is at providing that dental treatment. That's sales right there. It's just your ability to describe value, your ability to talk. The main thing that holds people back from selling the most is mental limitations. Most people's dentistry is up here, but their prices are down here. Prices should accurately reflect the dentistry, but the patients don't know anything about dentistry. So the only reason that they'll actually sign up at that point is how well you've described the dentistry. They don't know what it looks like. They don't even know what a fill-in is, you know. They'll go off rapport, they'll go off trust, they'll go off your description. So if a patient doesn't come on board with the treatment plan, it's nothing to do with the dentistry. That hasn't even happened yet. It's how well you've described it, and therefore you know where to focus your energy. Accountancy. Now, you're unable to do this if you're solely NHS, but going limited for a private dentist, a solely private dentist who's earning 90k can save potentially as much as £10,000 per annum. Now, I'm very quick to just caveat that with saying that that's presuming that you need under 50,270, the basic tax rate, to live every year. Because what that means is that actually everything over 50,000 is a surplus for you, and that's where I've got this £10,000 saving from. It depends how much you're saving, depends how much you're spending, depends on all of these things, okay? It's not always a good idea, but for some people this can unlock money just like that. All I'm saying is it will be worth speaking to your accountant if you haven't yet already done it. Also, it depends on what you plan to do with the money as well, because if it's just going to sit there dormant in a limited company, then it's not actually that much use to you. You have to think about how you can grow it or invest it or do other things with it. Spending review. Now, this isn't quite as sexy and glamorous as the other stuff, but this is probably one of the easiest ways that somebody can unlock more capital tomorrow. I hate the word budgeting. We use spending reviewing, but in essence, it's a euphemism for the same thing. Simply making considered attempts to reduce spending. So simple. There's a book out there called Kakebo, and what you can do with that book is you can use it to make monthly budget plans. Best £10 you'll ever spend, you'll make it back in a month. I can guarantee you that, because you'll start looking at your spending through a lens of introspection. You'll start reviewing those old direct debits that you've forgotten about for about 10 years. You'll start reviewing where you can just cut down, you can trim the margins a little bit, you can cut off a little bit of excess fat in order to make a bit of savings and in order to save some money every month. I guarantee everybody that there's overlooked direct debits and things that they've forgotten about. I thought I was good, and then I realized there was actually about 4 or 5 direct debits I had there, mainly from bank accounts that were charging me fees, bank accounts that were terrible deals. I switched my bank account recently to an online provider, 0 fees, and the service is even better. I was paying, I think it was maybe £300-400 a year on fees for accounts that didn't even have any additional features or bonuses. There was no selling point to them. They just charged me an additional fee, and I thought that was how it was when you had a personal account or a current account. There's some flipping terrible products out there. You really got to be careful. And you just assume that because they're from high street banks, that they're good, that they're actually decent products. Absolutely not. They're terrible half the time. So just something to watch out for. You really don't know what you're spending until you review it. And I'm not talking about living like a hermit. I'm not talking about pinching every single penny. I'm just talking about being a little bit conscious of it, because it'll highlight the areas that you need to look at. And remember, if you can keep your spending under 50,270 as much as possible, you will save a fortune if you have a limited company. Your tax rate halves. The effective tax rate over 50,270 is roughly 45%. So every pound that you get in your hand, you have to earn £1.90. If you have a limited company, it goes right back. It goes right down to, for every pound that you get in your company, you have to earn £1.25. Half the tax bill. But just be careful. Definitely ask your accountant. But this is how you're going to allow that information to have a greater impact on your life, by undertaking some spending reviewing. Fourth one, create/modify a business. Now, if you already have a business, this is rather easy, because what you'll tend to find is that when you have a big machine with loads of cogs in it that are all turning at once, there's a few tiny little cogs that are not greased, that are not oiled, that are not working that well. If you oil those cogs, so to speak, by implementing a few new ideas and mixing things up and experimenting, then you can find that the overall system has a crazy increase in productivity and hence your ability to create wealth over time. It's nuts. I would encourage any principal to have a little bit of thinking time every week, time to generate new ideas and implement them. You'll actually see your business become more profitable versus surgery. At least some thinking time, at least. Remember, there's 168 hours in a week. You can't get more. You have to delegate them. If you have no time to think, you must cut down at somewhere. There must be some at least short-term profit that misses out. And I'll say that speaking from experience, it's very easy just to hammer away doing the same old things and not actually think to yourself on a deeper level, is this even the best way to execute my business plan? If I modified a few things, if I looked at things in a whole new perspective, if I look at things from a new perspective, can I actually exponentially increase my profits because I've devoted some time to thinking about it? Probably is the answer. In fact, not even probably, definitely. Most businesses can be tweaked to massively leverage that time to increase profits a huge amount. If you don't have a business already, I would encourage anybody who is thinking about it to just go for it. How are you going to learn about creating a business? You can go to all the classes, you can go to any sort of mentorship program that you like, but if you just get yourself out there, you'll learn so much along the way, and those are the skills that actually become valuable to others. It's the skills that you pick up along the way that become useful to your business. They can't be taught, and also they can be sold as part of your business model. So I would encourage anybody to start. What's the easiest way to create a business in 2022? Probably to get a following online. That's why people like Gary Vee talk about it so much. What you can basically do if you have a following, every single thing you do is leveraged via the following. So you already have people that are aware of the business, whatever it is that you create from the get-go. But remember, you have to nurture the following, you have to treat them well, you have to go out of your way for them, you have to genuinely care, because people will detect and understand your authenticity. They'll be able to understand whether or not you're authentic a mile off, in my opinion. So you got to keep it authentic at all times. You just got to be real. You got to be charismatic online. You got to be engaging. Summary: we've just talked about the best ways that you can generate wealth. These are the best ways that you can create wealth. I honestly think if you go away and action those things in that webinar, that they can be easily worth 4 or 5 figures to some of you watching this year. Remember, wisdom is not sold by the hour. Wisdom is sold on value. So within that 15-minute video, there'll be some things that you can use to understand to a greater level how you can create wealth. You can actually understand where you should be focusing your energy if you want to make more money, because chances are it's not investing in the short term. Investing is what you do with your money long term. This is what's going to actually put money in your hand. Those 4 things that we spoke about. Now, naturally, we could probably make a whole course on every single one of those, a series of webinars in each and every one. We'll save that content for further down the line on Dentists Who Invest, but now you know where you should be focusing and where you should be looking to create more wealth tomorrow. It's one of those 4 ways for every single dentist who's watching this. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you next week on Money Mondays.